When I first started my online business, I thought Canva was going to get me there alone. And I love Canva, don't get me wrong. But to have an online business, there is so much underneath it. And once you understand the fundamentals, then you're able to see it a lot more clearly. As an art teacher for over a decade, I was constantly hearing, you're so creative, but even that creativity that I had for the first 2 years of content, it just wasn't enough. And my attempts were quite dismal. I got caught up in having to post all the time and making things look pretty. But the thing is that I kept asking myself, why is it this hard? But the truth is that creativity is a huge element to it, but it's not the only one. It's not just about making something beautiful and building something that looks aesthetically pleasing. It's more to it than that. It needs to be something that carries a message. If that message needs to hear someone in mental health, or if that message needs to hear someone in finance, you've got to be able to target those messages correctly. And spending time in Canva, moving elements around, is not going to do that. But your content also has to be seen. And this is the part that compounds over time. You have to keep showing up with your content. But it becomes something that if I don't keep showing up, then I'm not going to be able to make the impact that I want to make, and nor can you. So if you're watching this may be something that you're wondering, how do you get from content to actually an online business? And this is the bridges that I've had to cross. Pretty things often get scrolled past so fast, like the Ferrari that you see the online guru drive, or the helicopter that they arrive in. They're the things that catch people's attention on the type of person. But to spend hours on a piece of artwork, it's worthwhile doing if you're purely an artist, but there's also another side to that. There is promotion and marketing. And so I've been on a deep dive to understand all of this. My skills in art were not enough. It took me a while to understand that content creates in two fundamental pillars: content creation and digital marketing. I was approaching it from purely an artistic perspective. I was thinking, if I make enough pretty things, people are going to come and see the content, and I'm going to be able to share that message. But see, when I got in the thick of things, all the stuff ended up looking the same. All the messages were from other people. And so how easy it is to scroll past quotes, because they're not something, they're impactful, but to see it on the shortcuts that I was trying to do in the content, it just wasn't landing. But I was so in the thick of creating that by the time that next week rolled through, I couldn't move or change anything because things were so overwhelming. Yet I've come to see that even the most legendary artists understand that there's an element of business required to success. Andy Warhol famously said, being good in business is the most fascinating kind of art. Making money is art, and working is art, and good business is the best art. This finally clicked for me this year. After analyzing how to go about this, you think about artists and galleries and exhibitions, they all have this promotion element to it. They all operate with the underlying business strategies. My biggest struggle has been promotion. I've definitely been putting it off as not being urgent. I just need to get the colors right. I just need to figure out how to get this content strategy going. I just. The list of excuses never ends. And there are creators out there that can send magic out into the world, and those individuals certainly do exist, but there's a trick to the numbers. We perceive that someone with millions of followers translate to millions of dollars in the bank account. And this is such an assumption gap. And I've had to learn this the hard way, that even with those thousands of followers, that's not necessarily the success reflected in those numbers. Take, for instance, the Instagrammer who had 2 million followers and then wanted to sell t-shirts. So they were $36 and she couldn't sell them. And this is such a good example of how numbers don't reflect numbers. It's the type of numbers that we're looking for. This is such a good example of how we can perceive something as being the epitome of what content creation is, and yet it doesn't translate to the online business element that so many people are after. The good news about this, though, is it gives us permission not to get so caught up in the numbers or perceived social proof that means somebody must be doing so well for themselves. This is precisely why I started learning that promotion is so important. To hide away from promoting your business is to hide away from seeing it grow. You put a wedge in, it plateaus or it declines. You have to promote like it's your livelihood, because it is. The problem with delaying this is years just keep rolling around and that dreaded question gets asked by family. What is it you do again? What is your business? And after your latest pivot, it's hard for you to even know anymore. That was certainly me. I started creating art that it was going to be my online business. And those art pieces, people didn't even want to pay the material cost for, let alone what it took me to generate a profit from them. Now, I only tell you this because there is a side to this that needs to be understood. It is the promotion side of things. And there is word of mouth, and business will work itself out in some ways. But as Alex Hormozi says, profit is the oxygen of your business. To move to the next venture, you must share the journey. You have to promote because your livelihood depends on it. From art, it went to Etsy. And I started to explore the Etsy space because, like trends are, I thought that that was where the next venture was going to come from. And it's okay to keep pivoting in business. But the thing is that sometimes a pivot can be more hiding behind what it is that you do, because deep within is a why you started. And the more you can get in touch with that, the stronger of a message you can deliver out there. And that's what you want to promote. That's what is at the forefront of what you're creating. But ultimately, it's not about the numbers as we perceive them. It's about numbers in probability. So you have to give probability a chance. So we have more probabilities in our lives than we realize that we to and fro with. Life is not built on guarantees. It unfolds through chance. It's the daily choices, the unseen outcomes. Everything carries a likelihood. Naming this shifts the fear from the unknown to recognizing patterns. As physicist Philip Morrison said, the probability of success is difficult to estimate. But if we never search, the chance of success is zero. Success can only happen if we maintain a constant. In other words, never giving up. The things that leverage you forward. That's where we get into what we call predictive power. To be in the game, you have to play a game of predicting. Content isn't just about the post, it's the signal you send out ahead of time. Creating with intention, in your own voice, giving the algorithm, the audience, anything, the universe, a chance to respond to. Probability rewards the ones who act before certainty exists. The coin has to be flipped before it lands on heads or tails. It's the flipping. The content you publish sets the odds. If you want to be paid in an online business, you have to be creating content that is being promoted to be seen. And you need to start thinking in probabilities, not hopes, as I was. It means showing up for your future self so that you have something to work with. By showing up, creating, you're able to look at those numbers, and not the numbers of vanity metrics, but which is the likes and follows and shares, but the numbers that indicate to you what actually resonates with people, what's going to push your journey forward. Results can only come from the process of being in it. See posting as like a small bet going out there, not a masterpiece. Posts get better with time. That's why I know I needed to schedule things and to commit to it first. The amount of times my brain freezes in perfection mode. This week, oh my goodness, for example, even creating this had so much imposter syndrome, and yet it's what I've been studying for the past 3 years. But you need to collate the data and realize what's performing well. And I understand this now because I spent hours on Canva, moving one post element to another post element to, I would spend hours, absolutely hours, trying to make it absolutely perfect, to make it go out and be the best thing ever. But that wasn't what people cared about. You gotta let it go, post it, and then check the engagement. Near enough is good enough. Because people are scrolling so fast, they're not going to notice. What you want to know is what is actually gaining traction. But I want to mention here before we go any further that it's not just about the numbers. It's about creating with the knowledge of what resonates. And that's not about the audience. That's about what resonates with you. Everything soon enough will be about the audience, your business, your offer, all of it. Now is a time to see what it is that you actually want to create. And if you get this wrong, who cares? We're on a floating rock. You can always change it. But until you start, you won't know if you can talk to it, if it's a phase, if it's going to draw in the right people even. When I started, I was drawing in the wrong type of person, and I thought that was the person I wanted to work with. But over time, I realized that it made sense what my business was offering. It was free this, free that, free this. And that's how you get started. Don't get me wrong, it's a rite of passage. But those people who have their hand out for those free things aren't necessarily the people you want to work with, because some of them are the most difficult. Now, this isn't a video about complaining, but it's something to consider, that when you're showing up, you're able to see these things for what they are, but you're able to measure it across posts, not just one event. This journey feels like a commitment because it is. The first time you post, you will get a small following of people who are hell-bent on continuing the journey with you. You'll build up this little tribe of people that are in it to see it to its end, and then over time, you notice that they start dropping off one by one. And it's like being in this rocket ship, that they start to give up on the journey as time goes through. But I want you to stick with the process, because those people were going to anyway. And you're strong, you're resilient, you keep going. You'll find that even the ones alongside you that you thought were going to make it that whole time, even those ones can fall off. But I imagine yourself in a rocket that just keeps going, because no doubt you have a why that's stronger than anything else. It will be the reason why you started. And the more you remind yourself of that and come back to that, that's what this is all about. So don't give up, stick with the process. So it's about optimizing based on patterns, not likes. I'm learning not to get so caught up on the likes and follows on social media, and I need you to understand that this is not an indication of conversion. I spent over $30,000 in business education, and I'm still going, because this is something that I'm developing so much, because it fascinates me what it takes when you think everything is a business. And underneath all of that, their subscriber account was well below the millions, and yet they got $30,000 from one person, and there are 200 people in the room. Before this realization, I thought numbers were all that mattered. It was what I thought was the indication of success, but it's what actually truly resonates with people. It's the depth behind things. So I've shifted, and I've realized that in order to have a business, it's less about creating and it's more about the statistics and probability. There's conflicting advice in business. Focus on the numbers, don't focus on the numbers. But the thing is that you're looking at how to connect the dots. See the numbers as dots. What you're creating, what resonates, and if you're going to follow that through forward. This way you get to look at the data of what you're creating that relates to that realm. When you have more to predict with, make a prediction, get results, the more direction you have, because you know where to follow. Right now I don't have a massive following or credibility I'm told the market looks for. But here's the thing, I've still earned money from an online business as an income. I've made more this quarter than any other quarter. But this isn't reflected on any platform. It's more in the deep understanding and the connections that I've made. I'm learning to not let the algorithm or numbers tell me I'm not successful. Instead, I'm sticking with the probability that the more I can strengthen the voice and the presence, the more I understand what people want to see. Today isn't about followers for me, it's about taking people on the journey. People want to connect the dots, but not be directly messaged out of the blue. People love to buy, but they hate being sold to. Content creation is not just art. Together with digital marketing, it's about how your ideas meet traction and how they contribute to the world. But nothing moves unless you do. You have to flip that coin. It is in the action of flipping the coin that allows you to see what the result's going to be, heads or tails. Did it work or did it not work? But every piece of content or ability to reflect on is a number of data point that you can use. And over time, this data reveals that direction. The question is not, will it work? The question is, will I give it a chance to? The fundamentals of these ideas is really to be seen as a game of probability. You have to experiment to be able to see results, and you probably do too.